Moreover, allowing time to do its work shows confidence in yourself and your values. You trust that you don't need to defend your worth immediately because it is stable and grounded. You're not rushing to prove anything because your sense of self isn't shaken by disrespect. This patience often commands more respect than a quick retort ever could. Ultimately, time is a silent ally. It shifts the dynamics of conflict and disrespect in ways that words often cannot. It can turn moments of tension into opportunities for growth and understanding. And when you embrace the power of time, you align yourself with a deeper wisdom, one that knows when to speak, when to act, and when to simply let things be. By staying quiet and patient, you also demonstrate maturity and emotional intelligence. You show that you are not controlled by fleeting emotions or the need for instant gratification. Instead, you value long-term peace and understanding over short-term victories. When time passes without you reacting, it often causes others to reconsider their words or actions. Sometimes, those who were disrespectful come to realize their mistake on their own. This silent, patient stance can be far more effective in prompting change than any argument or confrontation. Time also protects your own well-being. It gives you space to process your feelings, to heal, and to regain perspective. Instead of being caught in the moment's emotional turbulence, you can approach the situation with a calmer, clearer mindset when the time is right. This not only helps you avoid rash decisions, but also allows you to respond, if you choose to, from a place of strength rather than weakness. Sometimes when faced with disrespect, the best response is not to engage at all, but to let time take its course. Time has a way of revealing truths, healing wounds, and shifting perspectives in ways that immediate reactions cannot. When you respond impulsively to disrespect, you may miss the bigger picture or inadvertently escalate a situation. But when you allow time to pass, you give both yourself and others the chance to reflect and grow. Time softens the sharp edges of hurtful words and can bring clarity that was absent in the heat of the moment. This approach is not about being passive or pretending you're unaffected. It's about choosing a higher standard for yourself. It's about realizing that not everything needs to be fought head-on. Some things are best handled through patience, composure, and the steady unfolding of your actions over time. When you let your character do the talking, you become untouchable in a sense, not because people stop disrespecting you, but because their disrespect can no longer shake the truth of who you are. And perhaps most importantly, letting your character speak builds a legacy. People forget words quickly, especially in heated moments. But they remember the person who stayed calm in the storm. They remember the person who stayed true to their values even when provoked. Letting your character speak means trusting in the long game. You're not chasing immediate vindication or public approval. You're investing in a deeper kind of recognition, the kind that comes from consistency, humility, and strength. When people repeatedly see that you do not entertain drama, that you treat others with dignity even when it's not returned, and that you move with purpose and integrity, they begin to understand the substance of who you are. Even those who tried to bring you down may eventually be forced to acknowledge your grace and strength, not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. People are observant. They may not always say it, but they notice how you carry yourself, especially in challenging moments. When someone disrespects you and you remain composed, silent, and unshaken, it shows the strength of your character. It proves that your integrity isn't dependent on how others treat you. It's rooted in who you are. Over time, that quiet strength earns you a type of respect that noise and confrontation never could. People remember how you made them feel, how you handled tension, and how you rose above negativity without having to shout over it. In life, there will always be people who misunderstand you, judge you unfairly, or speak to you in ways that are demeaning or disrespectful. It's inevitable. But how you choose to respond in those moments defines your character far more than the words or actions of others. When you are disrespected, it's easy to feel the need to correct the narrative, to explain yourself, or to defend yourself. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is allow your character to speak for itself. Your consistent actions, your values, your way of living those things speak louder and longer than any reaction could. Moreover, walking away in silence is a way of protecting your emotional and mental well-being. Conflict, especially when rooted in disrespect, is draining. It can linger in your mind long after the moment has passed, stealing your focus and darkening your mood. But when you choose silence, you create a boundary. You draw a line that says, I will not engage with disrespect. That boundary guards your energy, keeps your spirit intact, and allows you to maintain your sense of calm in a world that often thrives on chaos. Maturity is knowing that not everything requires a response. Wisdom is knowing when to walk away. Strength is having the discipline to do it silently. When you learn to walk away without needing to prove anything, you show the world and yourself that your peace is more valuable than your pride. And in that quiet exit, there is dignity, grace, and power that words simply cannot match. There is power in walking away without saying a word. It shifts the dynamic. The person who disrespected you is often left unsettled, expecting confrontation and instead facing composure. They are denied the satisfaction of your anger, your explanations, or your defenses. This silence can be louder than any shouted response. It forces them to sit with their own behavior without the distraction of your reaction. It leaves them to reflect while you move forward with your head held high. Walking away in silence speaks volumes. It tells others that you are in control of yourself, that you are not easily provoked or manipulated, and that you carry your worth internally, not in the validation of others. It shows that you are not desperate for approval, nor are you vulnerable to petty attacks. Instead of responding with equal negativity, you choose to remove yourself from a space that doesn't respect or deserve you. And that decision, although quiet, is bold. It is a reflection of emotional intelligence, the understanding that your presence is a gift and that it shouldn't be wasted where it's not appreciated. In moments of disrespect, there is a natural urge to assert yourself, to speak up, to defend your name and honor. While this urge is human and valid, it's important to understand that not every battle is worth fighting and not every person deserves a response. The ability to walk away silently from disrespect is not a sign of defeat, it's an act of self-respect and maturity. It means you've reached a level of self-awareness where you know that arguing with someone who cannot see your worth is a misuse of your time, your energy, and your voice. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't notice the offense, it means you've chosen to value your peace over proving a point. Silence also cultivates inner clarity. It allows you to separate the noise of the moment from the truth of who you are. Disrespect often comes from a place of projection, people throwing their insecurities, frustrations, or bitterness at you, hoping you'll catch it and carry it. When you remain silent, you refuse to pick up what doesn't belong to you. You stay grounded in your truth and move forward without being weighed down by someone else's chaos. Over time, this discipline shapes your character. It builds emotional resilience. It reinforces the idea that not all reactions are strength sometimes. The truest strength lies in stillness. Choosing silence is not easy. It requires humility, patience, and emotional maturity. But the reward is profound, a life lived with intention, not impulse, with dignity, not desperation. Silence allows you to respond from a place of power, not pain. And that kind of silence leaves a lasting echo that words rarely can. Furthermore, silence protects your time. Every time you get drawn into a petty argument or emotional exchange, you spend precious energy that could have been directed toward your goals, your peace, or your healing. Not everyone deserves your attention. Not every insult deserves a stage. When you stay quiet, you're not just withholding words, you're making a statement about what you value. You value your future more than their opinions. You value peace over temporary satisfaction. You value growth over ego. And when people see that you don't get easily shaken by negativity, they begin to respect your boundaries even if they don't admit it out loud. Staying quiet in the face of disrespect also acts as a filter. It reveals who really understands you, who respects your boundaries, and who recognizes the power of your restraint. The world tends to admire those who speak with purpose, not noise. Silence, when chosen intentionally, gives your presence more weight. People begin to realize that if you're not speaking, it's not because you're afraid or unsure, it's because you're thinking, observing, or consciously deciding that the moment doesn't deserve your voice. That realization can be more impactful than any verbal comeback. In a society that thrives on quick reactions, loud opinions, and instant responses, choosing silence can feel unnatural, even risky. But the truth is, silence in response to disrespect is often the most articulate and meaningful answer you can give. It communicates a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth, a refusal to engage in negativity, and a commitment to protecting your peace. Silence sends a powerful message: I see what you're doing, and I choose not to lower myself to your level. It's a decision to rise above pettiness, to disengage from the drama, and to remain rooted in your own values rather than being swayed by someone else's behavior. Choosing silence is not about surrendering, it's about transcending. It's the art of protecting your inner world from unnecessary disturbance. When the noise outside doesn't match the peace inside, you don't lower your volume, you simply refuse to tune in. That kind of silence isn't empty, it's full of wisdom, confidence, and quiet dignity. Silence is also an expression of peace. It tells the world that you are grounded and focused on things that elevate you, not drag you down. In preserving your calm, you're investing in your own mental and emotional well-being. You're signaling to yourself and others that your peace of mind is non-negotiable. And with time, people come to understand that you're someone who cannot be easily disturbed, manipulated, or provoked, a person who responds with intention, not impulse. Furthermore, silence leaves room for people to reflect on their actions. When you don't retaliate, you allow the weight of their behavior to rest fully on them, unshared by your reaction. Sometimes silence forces people to hear their own echoes. They may replay their words in their minds, question their intentions, or realize the line they crossed. Your silence becomes a mirror, and for many that reflection can be far more uncomfortable than any words you might have said. In that silence, something critical happens. You take back control. You don't let the other person's words or actions dictate your behavior. You remain in charge of your narrative, your emotions, and your boundaries. Silence is often misunderstood as passive, but in truth, it is deeply active. It requires strength to hold your tongue, to breathe deeply, and to walk away without needing to be understood or validated in that moment. It's easy to talk back, to snap, to defend your name, but it takes real inner power to trust that your value doesn't depend on their acknowledgement or approval. Silence in moments of disrespect can be the most profound expression of self-respect and emotional intelligence. While the world often praises those who speak up loudly and immediately, there's an understated strength in those who know when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. Silence doesn't mean that you're weak or that you didn't notice the offense. It means you're measured, mature, and confident enough to understand that not every situation deserves your energy. When someone tries to diminish you, they're expecting noise. They're expecting you to react, to defend, to lose composure. But when you meet their disrespect with silence, you introduce stillness into the chaos, and that stillness is powerful. Silence in moments of disrespect can be the most profound expression of self-respect and emotional intelligence. While the world often praises those who speak up loudly and immediately, there's an understated strength in those who know when to speak and, more importantly, when not to. Silence doesn't mean that you're weak or that you didn't notice the offense. It means you're measured, mature, and confident enough to understand that not every situation deserves your energy. When someone tries to diminish you, they're expecting noise. They're expecting you to react, to defend, to lose composure. But when you meet their disrespect with silence, you introduce stillness into the chaos, and that stillness is powerful. Silence isn't always easy, especially when your pride is wounded, but the long-term reward is deeper than temporary satisfaction. It's the quiet pride of knowing you stayed true to yourself. It's the confidence that comes from responding to disrespect with grace instead of aggression. And above all, it's the preservation of your dignity in a world that often tries to take it away. Preserving your dignity through silence also creates space for reflection. You give yourself time to process the situation fully, without being caught in the heat of the moment. You gain clarity about whether the situation even deserves your response. In many cases, what feels like an attack is actually a projection of the other person's frustration, fear, or insecurity. By staying silent, you allow their disrespect to remain with them, rather than letting it enter your spirit. You protect your emotional boundaries and reaffirm that your worth isn't dictated by how someone else chooses to treat you. Moreover, silence disrupts the cycle of disrespect. Most people who dish out insults or belittling comments are looking for a reaction. They want to pull you into a fight, to validate their own insecurities by making you lose control. When you don't give them that satisfaction, you rob them of their power. You set a boundary without even saying a word. You teach them and everyone watching that you value your self-worth too much to let it be dragged through the mud by someone else's poor behavior. You choose stillness over chaos, composure over conflict. In tense or disrespectful situations, words are often used as weapons, and when emotions are high, it's easy to say things you'll later regret. You might win the argument, but lose your peace. You might speak your truth, but do so in a way that compromises your values. Silence, on the other hand, gives you the upper hand without the cost. It shows restraint, maturity, and confidence. It says, I don't need to prove anything to you. I know who I am. That kind of quiet strength is powerful, and it commands a different kind of respect, one that's not demanded through force, but earned through grace. Silence preserves dignity in a way that words often cannot. When you're disrespected, it's natural to feel hurt, angry, or embarrassed. There's a strong internal pull to defend yourself, to clap back, to restore your pride through words or confrontation. But when you choose to stay silent, you're not suppressing your feelings, you're rising above the moment. You're making a conscious decision to protect your self-respect rather than stoop to the level of someone who clearly has no regard for it. Dignity isn't about winning arguments, it's about walking away with your integrity intact. Moreover, when you stay committed to growth, you inspire others who may also be facing disrespect or doubt. Your story becomes a quiet testimony that success is the best revenge, not because it punishes anyone, but because it sets you free. It frees you from the need to engage, the need to explain, and the need to seek validation. It keeps your eyes forward and your energy aligned with your future, not your critics. And in the end, nothing silences disrespect more effectively than undeniable progress. What makes this approach even more powerful is that it benefits you, not just emotionally, but practically. You're not wasting time dwelling on hurtful words or actions. Instead, you're turning pain into motivation. You're building something better within yourself and in your life. That kind of response lasts. Words are fleeting. Success is visible and tangible. Every step you take toward your goals becomes proof that their disrespect didn't define you, it fueled you. Success has a quiet but undeniable voice. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. When you channel your energy into your personal goals, your passions, and your purpose, you rise above the noise. People begin to see your discipline, your perseverance, and your focus in those things speak louder than any argument ever could. The same people who doubted you, disrespected you, or tried to tear you down are often left in silence when faced with your progress. There's no more powerful form of retaliation than thriving in spite of what was meant to break you. Letting your success be your response is one of the most empowering and lasting ways to deal with disrespect. When someone disrespects you, their intent is often to belittle you, to make you question your worth, or to provoke a negative reaction. Responding with anger or engaging in an argument might feel satisfying in the moment, but it rarely changes the other person's opinion and often drags you down to their level. Instead, when you shift your focus away from proving them wrong with words and toward proving them wrong with action, you take control of the narrative. You let your growth, your accomplishments, and your evolution do the talking for you. This practice is not about bottling up your emotions or ignoring serious issues. It's about discernment. It's about knowing that silence can be a powerful boundary. It sends a clear message. Not everything deserves your voice. When you choose silence, you're not silenced, you are in control. You are choosing peace over pride and clarity over chaos. In a world where everyone is quick to respond, your silence can speak volumes. Not giving a reaction also shields your mental and emotional well-being. Every time you engage with negativity, you're investing your emotional energy in a space that brings you no return. Over time, that investment adds up and drains you, often without you realizing it. But when you recognize that you have the power to choose your response or to withhold it entirely, you begin to manage your energy more wisely. You start responding only to what aligns with your values, your peace, and your purpose. Everything else can fall away without comment, without confrontation, without concern. When someone disrespects you, they may be seeking a reaction. They might want to provoke you, draw you into an argument, or throw you off balance. By remaining calm and silent, you deny them that satisfaction. You show them that your self-worth is not dependent on their opinion, and that you will not be pulled into petty exchanges that serve no purpose. This choice reflects a strong sense of identity. When you know who you are, you don't feel the need to prove it to someone else, especially someone trying to undermine you. One of the most liberating truths in life is realizing that you don't owe anyone a reaction. You are not obligated to respond to every insult, every negative comment, or every moment of disrespect. In fact, the belief that you must always defend yourself or explain your side often leads to emotional exhaustion and unnecessary conflict. Choosing not to respond is not avoidance, it's a conscious decision to protect your inner peace and preserve your energy for things that truly matter. It is an act of self-respect and personal discipline. This pause between the event and your reaction is where growth happens. It's where maturity takes root. You begin to realize that not every insult deserves a reply, and not every challenge deserves a confrontation. Some things are best left unanswered because not all provocations are worth your time. Reflecting in silence allows you to decide whether your voice will uplift the moment or feed the negativity. In that stillness, you reclaim your power and maintain control of your story rather than letting someone else write it for you through your triggered reaction. Choosing not to respond right away gives you space to reflect rather than react. It allows your mind to catch up with your emotions and to decide whether a response is even necessary. In many situations, The disrespect you encounter is not a reflection of your worth, but a projection of the other person's pain, insecurity, or immaturity. By staying calm and choosing silence, you're not letting them win, you're simply not playing their player. You're showing that you are grounded, that you understand the weight of your words and the power of your response. When someone disrespects you, the natural human response is to react. You feel the sting of their words or actions and want to immediately defend your pride, your values, or your integrity. But in that instant, reacting emotionally can do more harm than good. It might make you feel better momentarily, but often it leads to regret, escalates the conflict, or gives the other person exactly what they wanted: your attention, your anger, your energy. The ability to pause instead of react is one of the most valuable forms of self-control you can develop. Staying quiet also puts the weight of their words back on them. It gives them space to hear themselves without your interference. Sometimes, when people aren't given the argument they seek, they're left to reflect on their own behavior. Your silence becomes a lesson they expected a fight, and instead they're left with their own noise. Ultimately, silence in the face of disrespect is a form of discipline. It says you know who you are, and you don't need to prove it to someone trying to get a reaction. You choose your battles wisely. You don't lower your standards to match someone else's lack of self-respect. In a world quick to speak, staying quiet is an act of power. Choosing to remain silent doesn't mean you're ignoring what happened. It means you're rising above it. It means you've decided that your energy is too valuable to waste on someone who's trying to bring you down. Silence gives you a moment to breathe, to think, and to maintain your dignity in a situation designed to strip it away. While others might lash out, you remain centered. You become a mirror that reflects not chaos, but calm. And that calmness is unsettling to those who rely on provoking reactions to feel powerful. Silence is often misunderstood in moments of conflict or disrespect. Many see it as a sign of weakness, submission, or inability to defend oneself. But in truth, silence can be the highest form of strength. When someone disrespects you, whether through words, tone, or behavior, the immediate temptation is to retaliate, to speak up sharply, or to match their energy. But reacting impulsively often means you're allowing the other person to dictate your emotional state. You give them control over your peace, your voice, and even your reputation.